now going to move from an artist realm to our own backyard spaces, most of which are not looking very good after last year's drought. We're going to be talking about ways to replace lawns creatively, and I'm joined by David Meeker from Porthole Design. It's great to have you with us, David.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Well, David, you're a designer, also I understand a garden writer. You have on your website, portholedesign.com, you have a blog. You talk about the kinds of things we're going to be talking about today. Big issue this year for lots of people is reducing turf or getting rid of it altogether. Lots of different strategies and reasons for doing so, right?
Oh yeah, the drought in my neighborhood has taken a huge toll on people's yards. I think a lot of people just gave up at some point in the summer, and it didn't. Lots of grass didn't come back, so people are starting to think about what to do.
Imagining alternatives, and
right.
I've told people, look, treat this as a blessing in disguise. It gives you the opportunity to start afresh and think afresh, maybe, about the way you're going to approach your lawn areas. And I'm sure you've been saying the same things to your clients.
Oh yeah, it's time, for people to do, and I think it's a great creative opportunity to start thinking about what to do with those spaces. I mean, it's a lot of space. I read recently that I think 30 million acres in the United States is dedicated to the traditional lawn, which is an area the size of Virginia. It's a huge space.
I'm surprised it's that small, frankly.
Yeah. Well, this includes national parks and so forth. So the idea of reclaiming some of that space, just building vegetable gardens or seeding outdoor areas to entertain or relax that are different and don't take the resources, don't take lawn mowing, I think are valuable opportunities.
Well, you have already, you walk around your neighborhood, you've been snapping pictures of what some people have been trying to do, using rock, gravel, all sorts of stuff, right?
Yeah, I've been fascinated. In the last several months, I've noticed that there's been a lot of activity as people are trying to, a lot of do-it-yourselfers in my neighborhood who are trying to just come up with new landscapes, and some succeed, some are not as successful as others, but everybody's trying to. I think people just don't want to plant the grass back.
Right.
It's already dead or half dead, and they want to do something else.
Our job here today is to try to steer them in a direction that will be fruitful for them. There are lots of creative things can be done.
Yes.
Lots of different options out there. Let's talk about some of the different things. Now, thinking about the spaces just differently is one thing. Front yards, for example, have always been traditionally the blank slate. It's like the spread of lawn that leads to the street and nothing else, except for maybe a little perimeter planting bed or something up close to the house. Really re-envisioning the front yard can be pretty exciting, and you can actually have entertainment spaces and other kinds of things in the front, right?
Yeah, and I'm seeing that a lot more often, and I use it in a lot of my designs now too, which is just creating little seating areas directly in the front yard. It's nice for a sort of community environment. You can see people walking by in the evenings, and people stop by and have a glass of wine, or
it's a more social way of gardening.
Yeah, instead of the private backyard, which I'm all for too. But I'm just noticing more people displaying their vegetable gardens, for people to notice in their neighborhood, and it's vibrant, and I like that. But it all starts with design. I think the design is the key to transforming, I think, the traditional lawn spaces into something. It's coming up with a plan and executing it.
Right. Now, you were sharing some of your designs with me, and you had two different designs for the same space. One is very flowing and soft. The other is more geometric and based on right angles and sorts of things. Both of them, though, really are conversion projects, really, designed to eliminate lawn altogether and bring in a garden space and social spaces, right?
Yeah, this client in particular just wanted to remove all of the grass in front and backyards, and so, but likes plants, likes rock work a lot. So the idea here was to focus on using a number of different materials: pea gravel, some river rock, and kind of a dry creek through the backyard for a drainage purpose, some larger boulders. She likes rock work, but also featuring some drought-resistant, xeric plants. So it's not all sparse and minimalistic.
Right, right.
So we came up with several options. One using curves, one using a lot of straight lines, more of a modern approach to it. But all of them using a mixed use of plants and materials, even vegetables mixed into plants throughout. Not a specific vegetable garden, but tomatoes right next to shrubs and herbs in the same beds.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of idea.
Mixing things up like that makes a whole lot of sense. Now, for those who might want to think about doing this on their own, what are some of the steps that the practical considerations that need to be taken into account? I'm thinking about the actual turf removal itself, things like that. What are some of the steps in that process, and what should people consider there?
Yeah, again, I reiterate that the design is the first step. Start with the design. There are a few people I think who can do this all in their head and plan it all out, but I think it's very rare. It's always good to get your ideas down on paper. Most box stores and hardware stores will sell marking paint, which is a really great tool to mark the grass areas where you could imagine the beds or pathways or patio areas to be, and these can be, mown out of the grass later. I mean, they're not permanent, but they're a way to visually see the landscape in your yard. So that's one of the first steps. Grass removal is
tedious work.
Tedious and often done by hand, although there are sod cutters. They're machines that will take out the grass, but usually you have to worry about utilities and wires and things that might break in your yard. So shovels often work best. And then hardscape kind of follows in order too.
A lot of people are real anxious about what do they have to do if they're going to use, say, gravel, for example. How much gravel do they use? And I know this will vary from one situation to the other, and what kind of gravel is used. I know, for example, in a landscape I did recently, I used a lot of decomposed granite, but I had to then turn into this kind of vigorous defender of the granite from weeds. And people need to be prepared for that. In the decomposed granite situation, weeds will grow in that granite.
Yeah,
So,
those are the two materials that are often used in pathways. Here are decomposed granite and pea gravel. There are advantages to each. I think decomposed granite also tracks. That's the other thing you have to be careful of. You can track it into the house, and it can scratch wood floors and things like that. So it's best used away from the house. But it doesn't move. Where pea gravel, if it's on a slope, can move with the rain. And it's better in flat areas. But as far as thickness goes, I'm a big fan of packing under pea gravel a road base and tamping it down.
Road bases is something that can be purchased at soil supply places, and it is basically what it sounds
cheap,
like. Cheap dirt that can be packed down hard.
Yep. Some of them even use a bit of like broken up concrete or limestone in it, and it's used traditionally to make roads, but you can get it wet and pack it down so weeds won't come up through it, and then put a very thin layer of gravel over the top. This creates more of a hard surface, so you can run wheelchairs or wheelbarrows across it without getting soupy in the gravel. Yeah.
Well, you brought some images that showed kind of a transformation of a space from the one where you've just painted out a line to this lush, beautiful landscape, and this transformation can take place literally in a few months if you plan well. And these are great ideas for people to consider. David, again, people can be in touch with you through Porthole Design. reimagining.com.
That's right.
And they can check for your writing and your design work there. And we appreciate you being on the program.
Thank you.
And coming up next is our friend Daphne.